We've already had our opening. Sorry.
Not working. Good evening. It's 7:31. We're here for legislative sessions. We've already done the pledge as we had to go to executive session earlier. So we're going to skip that and go into our meeting chock full of legislation and public meeting and public hearing, et cetera, et cetera. So attendance was over, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I was told that I do not speak clearly into the microphone by a resident, so I'm going to try to do better. Okay, so we have a public hearing and we are going to get started.
Okay. The first public hearing for this evening is the proposed law 2024 entitled "A Local Law Amending 270 Zoning in the Village of Ossining Code." Is there anyone that wishes to speak on that public hearing?
Do you have anybody on Zoom, folks?
That wishes to speak on that public hearing? I'm sorry? Oh, please raise your virtual hand if you want to speak on the first of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 public hearings tonight, which is the local law amending chapter 270 zoning of the Village of Ossining Code. Is there anyone that wishes to raise their virtual hand? No? Seeing no one, do I have a motion to close the public hearing of,
So moved. Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Just a footnote here that Trustee White is zooming into this meeting as well.
Our second public hearing of this evening, proposed local law 2024 entitled "A Local Law Amending Chapter 91 Building Construction for the Village of Ossining Code." Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on that public hearing? How about in our virtual world? Is there anyone that would like to speak? Please raise your little virtual hand.
No one.
It's little. Okay. May I have a motion to close the public hearing on chapter 91?
So moved. Second.
Any comments, Sue?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our next public hearing is on proposed local law 2024, a local law amending chapter 247 towing for the Village of Ossining Code. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on that subject? Not seeing anyone. Is there anyone in our virtual world? Would please raise your virtual hand. Okay, do I have a motion to close that public hearing?
So moved. Second.
I just want to comment on this. Towing is a conversation that's been going on for about 1.5 years. And just to be very clear, this is not towing as a general conversation about private car towing in Ossining. It is very specific to the towing regulations that we follow via the police department when they call tow trucks here in the village because there's been an accident or somebody just needs to be towed because they're blocking the roads, et cetera, et cetera. So this is specific to that kind of towing. And if you want to follow the storyline, it's been discussed at various meetings over probably the past 1.5 years. And we're making some amendments based on feedback that we've gotten. Sue?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Proposed local law, next public hearing, proposed local law 2024 entitled "A Local Law Amending Chapter 270 Indian Brook Croton Gorge Intermunicipal Watershed Protection Overlay District of the Village of Ossining Code." We have someone in our audience.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Daria Gregg. I live at 51 Old Albany Post Road in the town of Ossining. And I'm urging you to vote yes on this proposed law. I've more or less been working on this for 40 years. And so it's very important to me. But as you might have read in my letter to the editor, this was proposed by the Planning Department of Westchester County back in the 1980s. And then recently, in the last 5 years, all the planning departments of the various 5 municipalities involved gotten together and put together a new proposed law as an overlay zoning for both Indian Brook watershed and lower Croton River from the dam down to the Hudson River. I wrote a letter to the editor that was in the paper 2 weeks ago, and I'll leave that in case anybody.
That was in the
didn't
Gazette,
have a
right?
chance to read it, huh?
The Gazette?
The Gazette. Have any questions?
We don't ask questions, but thank
Okay.
you for offering. We usually don't even have a conversation. It's a listening
Okay.
moment,
Well,
not necessarily a conversational. I did see your article, by the way. So thank you for that, and thank you for coming in tonight.
I think I pretty more or less said everything in that letter to the
Mhm.
editor, which I'm giving you a copy so you can read it at your leisure. But this will be, lots happened in the last 40 years as far as environmental awareness
Mhm.
and us all up in fact, I showed in that letter one example where there was a sewage leak at the pump station in Crotonville, and that sewage leak affected the beaches from Tarrytown up to Peekskill. So we're all interconnected by water.
Right. Thank you so much for coming in. We're in the middle of the vote, correct?
Sorry, we need to ask our virtual world. No, he's not for that. We need to ask our virtual world if there's anyone out there that would like to speak on this public hearing. Please raise your virtual hand.
No one.
Okay. Do I have a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and our last public hearing for the evening is the Village of Austin proposed 2025, 2002 through 2027 Community Development Block Grants, or CDBG as they're well-known projects. Is there anyone in my audience that would like to speak on CDBG?
I think yes.
Would you like the information that we have on that we're going to be submitting for? Like copies? Sure.
You can put it in and show, so it's memorialized.
My name is Howard Milbert, and I'm the Executive Director of the Ossining Children's Center. And I'd like to thank you for allowing us to present this evening. We have 3 years of improvements to our facility that we would like funded with donations from the Children's Center and from the Community Development Block Grant. The first year, we would like to improve our HVAC infrastructure. When we built the building, we added a storage area in our kitchen. The storage area blocks some of the air vents, and our kitchen gets extraordinarily hot in the summer, over 100 degrees. And we would like to add an air conditioner that will correct this issue. Also, when we designed the building, we did not realize how many freezers we would need in our freezer storage area to serve all the children, all the food that we get from CACFP. Most of that is frozen. We have we have many subsidized children, and as a result, we provide breakfast, lunch, and supper snack for all of these youngsters. And the freezer space is quite hot because we've added additional freezers in order to store the food. So we would like to add another cooling system in that area also. The HVAC improvements, the total project is 100,000. Our CDBG request is 50,000. Also, the first year, we have 2 outside areas we would like to improve. The first is our garden project. For the past 20 years, we've had a very successful preschool garden, and we've moved that garden to our new facility. However, we don't have enough space in the current garden for our before and after school program. And these youngsters have expressed an interest in gardening and growing vegetables. And we see that as a wonderful uh, uh, extracurricular activity. We'll combine that with cooking, and we would like to expand our garden down the hill and create a terraced area for our school age program.
So
Yeah.
Howard, if
I'm sorry.
we had the meeting regarding this about a week or so ago, just as consistency for our meetings, and it's on the paper, the public piece, even though there are not a lot of people here, it's about 3 minutes, the presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No apology necessary. I'm not sure you were aware of that.
No, I wasn't.
Right.
Sorry.
I think your presentation, if it's similar to the one we did for last week, which was not a board meeting, as you know, it was, and you're part of the CDB, it's probably more than 3 minutes. So if I could ask you to maybe hit the main points and because we got it from last week also from the meeting, which was
Got it.
recorded. So
Okay.
public record. So if I could ask you to maybe hit the big headlines. We try to be consistent so that next time somebody doesn't come and say, why does one person get more and one person get less?
Okay. We're expanding our garden. We're putting up a shade structure that will keep the sun off the kids. And that's total project cost for that is $50,000. We're asking for 25,000 from CDBG. The total project is 150,000 for the first year. Year 2, we are looking to retrofit our stairwell doors. We have fire doors that are very heavy. They close, you open them and they close by themselves. What I'd like to do is keep the doors open, and in case of a fire, the doors would close by themselves. That will prevent children from getting their fingers caught in the doors whenever they're opened or closed daily. And the third, and that would be $50,000 for that project. We're requesting 25,000 from the Community Development Block Grant Fund. Our third year, we're looking to improve our security, and that would be by putting on some security film on the windows to darken them, and also to retrofit the outside doors with card keys similar to hotel keys, so that if someone needs to get in, if there's an intruder and the children are outside, they need to get in quickly, they will be able to do that. The total for that is 50,000. We're asking for 25,000 from the Community Development Block Grant. That's it.
Thank you. And just, there was a meeting and it was publicly announced, a number of people were involved regarding this community CDG. Nonprofits are eligible, as is our municipality. And so I think Howard, who's the CEO of the Children's Center, which is a nonprofit, is just publicly announcing their interest in those particular grants. So just to put it in context, so for people who look at this after the fact via video, I just want to put that in context of why you're here and why you're asking, and that there was also recorded opportunity for people to see your, I think it was like 15 minutes, but your presentation last week, and that's also on video if people want to see it in more detail or interested. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for
Appreciate it.
allowing me to present. Thank you.
Is there anyone in our virtual world that would like to please raise your virtual hand?
There is one person, Rochelle Udell. I'm going to bring you over as a panelist. If you could turn your camera on, that would be great. And then begin by introducing yourself and where you live.
Oh, okay.
Rochelle, if you can unmute.
Show your face.
I'm here representing Gina Piazza from the Sparta Association. And I just want to make sure that you got her, she sent 2 letters. One to all of you on the Board of Trustees about the block grant funding for Spring Street and the sidewalks. And she just wanted to make sure, I'm going to raise the points briefly. A request for inclusion that before this begins, that whoever is doing this speaks to the residents. And the second, she had concerns about the quality of the cement, noting that the older cement seemed to have been working better than the newer cement. I don't know whether the new cement is temporary or whatever. I just wanted to bring that up to make sure that it was heard. You all should have received her letter via email from her. So that's one thing that I wanted to mention. And under this umbrella, is this a moment to give you her concerns about the development of Sparta Park or no?
There is later in the agenda is actually a place for that. So we try to be consistent in these kind of meetings so that we have a reason for consistency, as I'm sure you
Totally.
understand.
Totally understood. I just wanted to bring up what she said about the sidewalks, but
Right.
I'll wait later for the Sparta
Right.
Park.
So I think that it's very good that you mentioned it, and I'm sure everybody did get it. I got it, so everybody was copied on it. Our chief engineer is on this call as well. So he doesn't need to address your question now, but I am sure that he will get the information. And as we get closer to anything that does get approved, these are requests,
Mhm.
not approved projects. They're requests for grants. Some will get approved, some won't, some will get approved soon, some will be years from now, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm glad, but it memorializes. So your request is memorialized, and the chief engineer, if and when we get to it, he'll address it. So I think the timing is very good that you stated it tonight. So I appreciate you being here with us. So Ms. Udell, if you want, we will get to the other parts now. It's pretty far along, if I'm not
Well,
mistaken.
is it an agenda?
I'm sorry? Well, this
I
is,
have to, yeah.
but it's not part of this public
Right.
hearing or conversation.
No,
Hers
but
would-
there's
her
not too far
would
down the
be under
road.
Visitor, which is when?
Oh, visitor it's, I know.
I know, but
After
while Ms. Udell is
announcements.
on, I just want to explain. I'm sorry.
After announcements and reports.
Is visitor recognition.
So that'll be maybe, yeah. So I would suggest you hold on to that, okay, Ms. Udell? We'll let you know when the right time is for that conversation. Okay. Who else?
We have a gentleman named Doug. Doug, if you can give us your first and your last name and your address, that would be great. And turn your phone, I'm sorry, unmute and turn your camera on.
Hi, this is Doug Tershin, 12 Liberty Street. I'm Rochelle's husband.
Oh.
But I did have another comment also about the sidewalks, which I'm hoping can get noted that in the Sparta Historic and Architectural Design District, as some of you might know, the sidewalks historically have been tinted pink. And it's something that people have put in the sidewalks in the past and repaired them and all. Some know about, some don't know about, some have done it, some others haven't done it. I'm just hoping that if there is a program to redo the sidewalks in the historic district, that those sidewalks do get tinted. It sort of gives recognition to the historic district.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate your input.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Is there
Anybody
anyone else? Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Any comments from the board? Sue?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are now moving on to,
Dana?
oh,
You're an
sorry, I
aye?
apologize.
Aye, yes.
We are now moving on to mayor and trustee announcements.
Okay. Mayor and trustee announcement. Anybody have anything? Do I see a microphone? Are you, okay? Dana, you have anything? Okay. Do you have anything? All righty. So I'll only say that we continue with having lots of events, mostly free. I saw them setting up, even though it was already raining a little bit. Market Square, be on the lookout. They're either in the mayor's message or the e-blast the village sends out. That is all over Ossining. Lots of music, lots of food, lots of fun activities. Please stay tuned for that. We had a lovely time, a wet but lovely time. Many of us attended the fighters parade in Ossining, a tradition. It was great. I have to send a big shout out to all those people in their wool kilts and their instruments out there as the rain just kept coming down, but then it cleared up. It was lovely. I thank the firefighters for all that they do. Yesterday, at about 11, we had a groundbreaking for the water plant. It is the largest project of its kind in Ostling's history. And what we learned yesterday, which actually I didn't know, but it turns out I wasn't alone. We had a lot of folks from various parts of government, levels of government, who support us in this. We want to make sure everybody has drinking water and that we build a sustainable environment. What I learned was that this is the largest project of its kind on the eastern seacoast. Like, this is actually the largest. I don't think it's the largest in the U.S., but it's the largest on the East Coast. So it's pretty big. We want to thank Governor Hochul and her office and her staff for really so kindly supporting Ossining in the past couple of years, especially with the $10 million fund that is much needed to get this project off the ground. It's been in the planning since 2016. A project like this takes a lot of planning. It involves a lot of crews, a lot of workers, and we're very, very excited. The groundbreaking was exciting, and there's more to come. We will create communication pieces at a certain milestone so that the public is aware of it. Mostly water plants and plumbing are not the most exciting of topics, not seen by many, but we all see the water that we have every day, and we just don't realize where it's all coming from. So we will keep everybody in touch and in tune with this very exciting project. And I think that's it for our announcements. Oh, I did want to add one thing to that. For those of you who have kids in the public schools here in Ossining, they do take tours, and the engineer is always happy to give tours by appointment. Don't just show up at the water plant. By appointment to groups and individual. It's a phenomenal tour by our own staff about how water comes from the reservoir to our homes. So I highly recommend that. We're done. That's it.
Thank you. And moving on to administrative reports, Village Manager Karen Dottori.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. So we are already into the second quarter. Actually, we're into the third quarter, but this is the second quarter report. So I want to take you through our major projects. We have quite a few of them. First off, next slide, please. So as the mayor mentioned, we do owe a debt of gratitude to Governor Hochul and New York State. Not only did we get $10 million for the water treatment plant, but in 2021, we got $10 million through the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, which is a highly competitive process. But we put forth a really good proposal, and we were able to get that money in. And right now, we are actually getting ready to, not breaking ground yet on anything on these projects, but by next year, a lot of these projects should be well underway. And we're starting with a multimodal transportation hub, aka parking structure and bike rental facility, community center renovations, new stage at Lewis Engle Park, which will be done by the town, renovations to the Olive Opera House, which will be done by the Fan family, the owners of the Olive Opera House, Station Plaza streetscaping, mixed-use development, Spring on Main, replacing our surface parking lots with housing and retail opportunities, as well as a complete redesign of our beloved Market Square. So the first project up, Ossining had suffered disinvestment in its downtown over the years. Revitalization of Ossining's downtown has long focused on addressing the negative consequences and unintended consequences of urban renewal when several historic Main Street buildings were demolished. So the greatest impediment to the redevelopment of Main Street were the displacement of the surface parking where people are going to park if we start building there again, and also the funds needed for the creation of a new parking structure. The grant funding from the DRI is making what has long been talked about now a reality. So a combination of downtown revitalization initiative monies and money, an additional $1 million from Empire State Development CFA application provided over $3 million to construct a multimodal structure that will include parking, an EV charging station, e-bike rentals, and will be built in a way that it will be designed to be adaptable as hopefully our modalities for transportation change and evolve over the next few decades. Went through a competitive RFP process to select THA Consulting to design what we're calling now the new hub, and the hub will be built on the Brandreth parking lots. That's the parking lot behind the shops on the north side of Main Street. So it'll still be close to the shopping and dining opportunities on Main Street. It'll also enhance access to the Croton Aqueduct Trail and the Sing Sing Hill Greenway. Community engagement was a large part of this process. We did it all through the DRI application process, and we've had recent community stakeholder meetings and engagement sessions, opportunities for the public to meet with our consultants from THA. And with that input, THA will be presenting their preliminary design to the Board of Trustees on August 14th, next week. As I mentioned, we anticipate that construction will be well underway until 2025 on this project, should be complete by 2026. While we won't know the total cost, we anticipate this is probably about a $12 million project, but we are getting a little over $3 million to offset that cost. Next project is the Joseph G. Caputo Community Center. So the pool is done. I thought this was an opportunity to show a picture of the pool. We have a newly resurfaced pool, improvements on the spray deck, and beautiful new, newly renovated locker rooms and a family changing room. Those were completed in April, but right now we're interviewing design consultants for the redesign of the entire community center space. And this was one of the projects I think that really garnered the most support from the community during the DRI application process. In addition to cosmetic upgrades, the public really felt it was important to have adaptation of existing space, better support sports and senior services and our youth bureau. So really everything from music, mommy and me music lessons to pickleball. And after I'm losing my train here. So anyway, once we hire the design consultants, which should be any day now, we will start first off with meetings with key stakeholders and again, the community to re-engage input for the community center and the changes that we'll be making there. We anticipate that construction will start in the spring of 2025. And while we may have some program interruptions, we will do this in a way that's phased. So the community center will stay open throughout the whole process. And we will certainly minimize these disruptions to the fullest extent possible. We anticipate the total cost of these renovations to be about $5 million. And we have DRI fundings of $2.5 million to offset that investment. One of our most beautiful buildings on Main Street is the Olive Opera House, and historic preservation is important. And the Fan family who owns that building really wants it to be established as a home for the arts. So DRI money, which goes to municipalities as well as private sector partners and stakeholders and other groups that are intricately involved in the economic revitalization of a community also can get funding. So this building currently houses Hudson Valley Books for Humanity, and the Sing Sing Prison Museum will be launching its preview center here. The additional funding will secure the property's success as a unique Ossining destination while attracting shoppers and diners and sightseers to the village. project timing, the design is underway now. They anticipate construction will happen next year. The cost is to be determined, but they were awarded $1.5 million through the Downtown Revitalization Initiative grant.
I just want to, again, for people who see this later on, everything that the manager said, but I do want to reiterate because there seems to be continued confusion. This is not village tax dollars being used. This is a private enterprise which qualified for a DRI. There were a number of nonprofits and for-profits that were eligible, and this is a private enterprise, private property that is being funded. It is not being done directly by the municipality, but the adjacent benefit is that when buildings like this are reinvigorated and when they bring in businesses or art or theater or whatever goes into it, which will be up to them, it invigorates the downtown economic development. So we get excited about it, and it is part of the state DRI, but it is not actually run by the village.
Correct.
It's a
Thank you,
private
Mayor.
entity.
I appreciate that clarification. The DRI does fund public-private partnerships. So in those instances where private entities are doing projects that are awarded, it's their funding that is required for the match to the DRI investment, not the villages. And to that end, other municipalities that may have a park within the municipality that won the DRI are also eligible. So the town of Ossining did get $600,000 in grant funding to improve their stage in Lewis Ingle Park. That design work is currently underway, and I have talked to the town supervisor, and we anticipate that that will be completed in 2025 as well. So look forward to a newly enhanced stage for our summer concerts and events. One of our other DRI projects is improving Station Plaza. And while we
I
did
think
get,
we're one behind at this point, right? This is the,
yeah,
there we go.
yeah,
Okay.
sorry. What's going on here? So Station Plaza is a unique mixed-use area that's right by the train station. So great for transit-oriented development. But there is an Ossining take on transit-oriented development that's a little bit different than what some other communities have done. So we have looked at that area quite closely over the past several months to really bring to light some concerns that residents had, as well as businesses down there. We're looking at updating zoning to really create the ideal mix of retail and commercial space and residential space. We will be bringing those recommended zoning changes to the board this fall. We've been discussing them over the last 3 months. We did have community engagement this summer where we spend a lot of time at Here Coffee to get input from people. DRI funding specifically will be used to address streetscaping, enhance widened sidewalks, improve ADA accessibility, and make the neighborhood more pedestrian friendly and friendly for people who are walking over and coming from the waterfront, maybe finding that the hill's not that high, not that steep to climb, making it a bit easier for them to get to Main Street as well. So we're excited about that and the other work that we're doing in this area to make that vital connection between our waterfront and Main Street that much more enhanced and improved. Live there and work there. We anticipate the streetscaping work will happen in 2026. We got $857,000 from the DRI to do that work, and we anticipate we'll be spending around that, and we will also be dovetailing that work with streetscaping improvements that the developer at 30 Water Street, which is another project I will get to in this presentation, will be doing too. On Water Street, we do anticipate breaking ground this year on 109 units of affordable housing, which will also complement this area and help in its overall improvements that we envision. As I mentioned before, projects that we talked about the longest in Austin really had to do with the surface parking lots on Spring and Main Streets. And reversing again those unintended consequences of urban renewal. So while this is not a DRI funded project, it is a project that is essential to the DRI and the revitalization initiative, if you will. So part of getting the money involved the village leadership interviewing developers for what is known as the post office lots on Spring and Main Street on the west side of the street of Spring Street. Wilder, Balter, and St. Catherine Group were selected to redevelop this lot, and it will ultimately have rental units as well as retail space on the ground floor, and it will reflect the historic character of the downtown Main Street Historic District. It will also serve to replace what was once there in a more contemporary way, but also in a way that fits the way people want to live today, shops, and also with the enhanced benefit of having a beautiful outdoor space, Market Square right across the street. Anticipated timing for this project, we'll probably get started with the planning towards the end of this year, and development will go through probably the end of 2027. This again is not being funded by the village, and there is no funding going through it. This is a developer finance project. Next page. So as I mentioned, right across the street, the DRI awarded us $2 million in funding that will allow us to completely re-landscape and enhance Market Square, and really dramatically improve our ability not just to have the farmers market there, but make it a more inviting area for a whole range of performances and fairs, festivals, and other community initiatives. Something that we're really excited about, to have that open air space and new development replacing surface parking is certainly a better use of the space, providing much greater community and economic development benefits. Project timing for this would be 26 to 27. It will probably coincide with the completion of the Spring on Main building that's going to be right up across the street. The total estimated cost is $2 million, and that is the grant funding we received to do that project. So that sums up our downtown revitalization initiative projects. We also have several other, 9 that I'm going to speak about tonight, projects underway. So as the mayor mentioned, yesterday we had the groundbreaking for the Indian Brook Water Treatment Plant, which was quite exciting. We have Project Mover, which is our micro-mobility e-bike infrastructure pilot program, Sparta Park Playground, Station Plaza development at 30 Water Street, Nelson Sitting Park Playground replacement, Spring Street walkability, which is a CDBG streetscaping project, the Route 9 Road Diet, a climate action plan, and waterfront resiliency initiatives. So starting with the Indian Brook Water Treatment Plant, yesterday was really an exciting day. After 7 years of planning, we're able to pick up our shovels and break ground on what is, as the mayor said, the largest municipal water project in the East Coast. And this is really significant. The current plant is 40 years old. It's at the end of its useful life, and it can no longer meet the capacity needs nor the need for decontamination at the level that is required for requirements for copper and lead going forward. That's not to say that we can't meet them. We are meeting them, but without the new plant, we will not be able to continue to address those problems as effectively and efficiently. So it's really important to us that we're ahead of the curve on this. We don't want to ever have an issue where we're not doing everything we can to make sure that our residents have access to quality, affordable water. So in addition to greater capacity demands with state-of-the-art technology, we will be able to address taste and odor issues, algae blooms, and really meet the most recent requirements for a whole range of contaminants, copper, lead, as well as others, PFAS and forever chemicals that are in the news a lot, but we certainly don't want them to be in our water. This project is funded via the water fund. This is paid by water rate payers. It is not part of your village taxes. Again, water rate payers fund this. But we've also been building a reserve to make sure that we can provide these improvements without dramatic increase in cost to our ratepayers. The grand total of this project is $105 million, but we have been able to secure $15,100,000 in grant money through New York State programs, as well as we have committed our $2.5 million ARPA funds to this project as well to offset this cost and reduce the burden on the ratepayers. Slide, please. Project Mover is an e-bike infrastructure grant, and we did get this grant, but I'm not counting it in the total because we're not actually receiving cash for this. We're receiving $7 million worth of consulting time and e-bike infrastructure, though. And the bike launch, the bike share launch is going to launching very soon. This month, we'll be seeing e-bikes for the first time for people to rent in Ossining. The idea of this program, it's a pilot program to try to introduce e-bikes, make them accessible, make it easier for people to obtain them, to ultimately lease to own them and borrow them for extended periods of times, and promote micromobility where it's appropriate. So that people are less reliant on using cars to get places for environmental reasons, for traffic reasons. We're in the pilot community, and we're working also with we're the lead community, working with Tarrytown, Dobbs Ferry, Croton-on-the-Hudson, and the town of Ossining. And we are also working with nonprofit partners, Open Door Family Medical Centers, Neighbors Link, Hudson Link, and IFCA Housing Network, to help really distribute these bikes equitably throughout the community so that everybody has an opportunity to travel more efficiently and more sustainably. So project timing, we started planning for this in 2023. Again, our e-bike launch will soon be a reality within the next couple of weeks, and the project should complete by 2026. Again, it's a $7 million investment into Ossining, but the cost to our municipality is the time that staff works on it, in-kind costs only. I will say that work is considerable, but it does provide us a tremendous benefit in being the first community in Westchester to pilot this program.
I want to be very clear that that program is a pilot, meaning that it may work, it may not work, and that's okay. That's what incubators do. You're testing things out, you're trying new things. The challenge in the Hudson Valley and much of New York State is that we're not flat like many cities are, where you see e-bikes programs and have been around for probably, I guess, 15 years at this point, maybe 20 years. And not just bikes, but other e-mobility structures. When you talk about the Hudson Valley, our communities, not just in Ossining, but all of the river towns and many areas around lakes in upstate New York, et cetera, are just on hills. And they are old roads and old communities. So we're an incubator for many communities. I just want to be very clear about that we hope this really takes off and is successful. There might be some rejiggering of different things to make sure that it does work, but the state is really trying to come up with an e-bike program that works in topographies that are more challenging than some of the major cities in the state of New York. And other parts of the country are doing similar endeavors. It isn't, though, paid. I have to reiterate, through our funding, but it has taken, for me personally, a lot more of our staff time than I had hoped. But hopefully it'll pay off in the end. So very excited to see how it rolls out.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next project underway was funded through a $100,000 grant from Senator Harkin's office, and these are community investment grants, CREST grants, they're called. But This CREST grant will fund a new playground at Sparta Park. And Sparta Park is one of our smaller parks in historic Sparta district. This playground is not one of our largest, but it's certainly located in one of our most beautiful areas. This grant will allow us to purchase and install playground equipment that will serve up to 25 children at a time. It will be geared towards younger children, ages 2 to 5, and it will come complete with safety surfacing. We're excited to have this for the many new families who are moving into this area. And it's one of our part of our ongoing efforts to update and improve our park system. We will installing this in September. So we're excited for that. And
That's not a picture of the actual park.
it actually is a picture of
Is
the
it?
equipment
Man, that's
we're
so
purchasing.
different than I think it looks. Okay.
Yeah,
The
it's
play set or the park itself?
well, that's not the park itself. This is out of
Right,
this is out of
because the
brochure
rendering
for
looks
the-
like a really big park, but it's actually a tiny
No,
little
this is
space.
not actually Sparta Park, but it is a picture of the manufacturer's.
People might want to take note that the reason it's smaller than our usual go-to is because on top of this hill, actually, and there's very little space there between trees and all sorts of stuff. So it's great that we're doing this, but it's a little bit of a tight space over there.
It is one of our smaller parks, but
Right.
it is quite lovely. And again, this will provide a nice.
That
nice
was more of an
improvement and
explanation why it's a little smaller than some of our other projects in the parks. Okay.
As I mentioned before, the Haitian Plaza development at 30 Water Street is an affordable housing project. And this project has had some fits and starts. We really, I think it was 2019 when the village leadership awarded this project to Wilder Balter, but COVID and a number of other things. It is a brownfield site. There's issues. We went through a whole process with Con Edison, but all of those things are now underway to remediate the site and build 109 units of all affordable mixed income housing with retail space and community space, 4-story parking structure that will accommodate not only the residents of the building, but also provide municipal parking as well. And what's really kind of exciting about this project in particular is that it will allow for the completion of the Sing Sing Kill walkway. So instead of stopping at Central Avenue, that Sing Sing Kill walkway will go under the Central Avenue Bridge and meander down through the property to end in a public plaza right at the foot of the building, the base of the building. And that way it provide easy access from Water Street and greatly facilitate enhancements that we're doing in that area, as well as create another interesting way to get up the hill and enjoy the other aspects of Ossining. We anticipate that this will break ground this fall, and then it will probably wrap up in 2027. It'll be completed. So another groundbreaking in the future. Again, this project does not cost Ossining anything. That is at the cost of the developer. We had talked earlier about our community development block grant program. We are still completing projects from the last round of community block grants. We're about to apply for the second round. They become available every 3 years. First off, we've completed some streetscaping projects on James Street, community block grant funding, and we also have 2 more legs of this cycle underway. Right now, the county is working with us on the engineering and design of streetscaping and sidewalk improvements and curb improvements from Broad Avenue to Lafayette Street, and the timing for that is actually that should be corrected. That should be 2025. Is under planning now, but the project likely won't start till 2025. Total cost is $500,200 in grant funding. And I'm sorry, that's the total cost, and grant funding is $200,000 for that project. Nelson Sitting Park is also scheduled to have its existing playground removed and replaced with a new inclusive playground. And the new playground will have equipment for children with mobility issues and sensory issues, allowing children of all abilities and developmental stages to play. And the project timing for that is spring of 2025. The total cost of that project is $188,750 with grant funding of $94,000. Are applying for the next round of CDBG projects for the 25-27 cycle, and that those applications we're working on now, they're due on September 6th. Next slide, please. So another project that's been talked about for many, many years in Ossining, and also serves to mediate some of the unintended consequences of urban renewal, is the Route 9 road diet. So you may know, if you're driving through Ossining, that Route 9 from Cedar Lane down through right around the high school is, or a little past the high school, is 4 lanes instead of 1 lane each way. Road was widened at one point in anticipation of all of Route 9 going south being widened, and that never really happened. And it did serve to bifurcate our community and create traffic and safety issues that exist today and make Ossining less walkable, less bikeable, and again, provide a physical divide that's sometimes a little bit difficult to manage. So this project, we've been working, we received funding through the federal government. Chuck Schumer's office has been really, Senator Schumer's office has been very instrumental in getting us $4 million of funding through the federal process, which is now sitting with the DOT, and we will be working closely with the DOT to finalize the plans and initiate this project, which we anticipate the major construction being done between during 2025, wrapping up early 2026, hopefully. The goals are traffic calming and improve safety. So yes, it is designed to slow traffic, but that's intentional. It want traffic to go a little bit more slowly for our community so that we can walk more safely, drive more safely, and also be able to facilitate more parking and commercial experiences on Route 9. And it will ultimately provide greater connectivity between our Main Street and Croton Avenue business districts as well. The total estimated cost for this project is $4,924,000. And we've received grant funding of nearly $4 million. I have $4 million, it works out with the match. We're also always looking to do things as sustainably as possible and work with other communities to have greater impact on that. Just completed the climate action plan and have some, it's on the agenda tonight for adoption. We worked with 9 municipalities, and I really have to give a big shout out to Maddie Zahach and H. Slott from our EAC, as well as Susie Ross and our friends at Green Ossining, who worked on this project, which was very time consuming and difficult, but provides a baseline of greenhouse gas use by the entire village, not just the municipality of Ossining, and looks to use that benchmark to make improvements over the next several years in improving our reduction of greenhouse gases. Again, this wasn't something that we got money for. The total cost was $100,000 in grant funding that went to the county, and the communities that were involved provided in-kind and staff volunteer hours as the match, but thinking it might have cost us $100,000 in timing. It was a lot of work, but a great initiative to provide some long-term benefits and sustainability. And finally, for the projects underway, we are constantly working alongside with our town colleagues on waterfront resiliency. The Village of Ossining was awarded a $50,000 Hudson River Estuary Grant to Science Plan, which will include resilience vision and strategies for environmental sustainability for the Ossining waterfront and Lewis Ingle and Henry Gordine parks, so that the flooding that we're seeing hopefully can be mitigated as sea level rise. We're working on that project now. We're getting started, and the total cost is $50,000 with the grant funding, funding the entire project. And the village was also awarded a local waterfront revitalization program grant to complement this project of $106,250 to incorporate recent planning initiatives, including the 2021 comprehensive plan and the 2020 downtown revitalization initiative strategic investment plan, in a comprehensive initiative to improve waterfront resilience and make our community more resilient to the changes that we're seeing, that we're witnessing this summer in terms of flooding and other issues associated with climate change. Please. So these projects represent almost $13.5 million in grant funding that will be applied to offset their investments to the general fund. As I mentioned before, $17.5 million has been also secured to fund the Indian Brook Water Treatment Plant, which will be applied to the water fund. So again, we get to do a lot with these grants, but we do so in a way that we make sure that we're still maintaining, staying under the tax cap and maintaining affordable water rates for our residents and water rate users. So the next slide provides just a snapshot. It's a little hard to read, but it will be online of the total cost of the projects that we just viewed, and as well as the total grant funding and the grant funding sources. Next slide. We're almost done, I promise. But a lot going on. Grant funding pending. We have, we just talked about a lot of grants that were received and the projects underway, but we also have several grants that are pending right now. And that includes a CREST grant of $100,000 for that would go towards a new roof at the Berthold-Fagan Courthouse, the building we were in right now. Enable us to install a solar roof on that new roof. That is supported through Senator Harkin's office. We also have a CREST grant for a very similar initiative, $125,000 for a new roof at the Joseph G. Caputo Community Center, which will also facilitate the installation of a solar roof. We have a CREST grant of $50,000 that went to the Ossing Fire Department, which will pay for a washer and dryer that will provide decontamination ability for our fire department to keep them clean and safe. And have also another $249,000 from New York State Department of Homeland Security for a second set of turnout gear for our firefighters so that they do not have to go home in their contaminated gear when they're leaving the scene of a fire. We have an EPA climate pollution reduction grant of $375,734 for wiring and air source heat pumps for cataract and a hollow hose. So we've been able to secure a lot of money for our volunteer fire department. We also were just recently awarded a $100,000 CREST grant from Senator Harkin for 2 Youth Bureau hybrid vans so that we can make sure that our youth are able to participate in a wide range of off-site programs and events to their benefit, and a CREST grant of $100,000 we also got from Senator Harkin, and we are considering using this for EV charging stations for fleet vehicles. While there's a lot of public funding for EV charging stations for the community, getting the EV charging stations and the infrastructure to green our fleet is a little bit more challenging, and this provides us with funding that we can use for that purpose and then continue with the greening of our fleet. Our CDBG grants for the that should be 2025 to 2027 cycle, we're requesting $200,000 for each of the following projects. Spring Street walkability improvements and streetscaping phase 2 from Lafayette Street through Scarborough Manor. a walking path connecting Lower James Street and Hunter Street. So it's no longer known as Breakneck Hill, and the paving of Lower James Street. We also are asking for funding for streetscaping along Ellis Place and streetscaping along William Street. And we have almost $1.9 million, $1.9 million pending in additional grant funding projects. And the next page provides just a little bit more detail on that. Again, want to thank Assemblywoman Levenberg, Senator Harcum, and other state and federal resources that will allow us to apply for this funding. And that completes all of our projects currently underway and pending.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. I'm sure there's some comments to be made. It's a lot. I've said this before, any one of those projects in the past would have taken up a whole meeting. I mean, it's just a lot of projects. Some of which are, I think the Route 9 diet is a 20-year project. So, it's all really amazing stuff. This is the mid-year sort of report. It also helps us look at the budget for next year. So I'll just open the floor to my fellow trustees. Like to start?
Thank you for the detailed update. First, I'd love to hear about the communications approach at this point, the thinking. When we are out meeting with members of the public, what would you like us to communicate in a soundbite, in a small way? What feedback would you like us to gather from people in the public?
That certainly we have a lot going on, and I can't expect you to recite that entire presentation. We are putting a lot of the information on the website, and Deputy Mayor, months ago, you suggested signage at the project sites. We are actually working on that. We have not forgotten. We will be putting signs with QR codes that will take people directly to an updated status of these projects on the website. So certainly, I think helping us communicate with people, communicating is always the challenge. And we try to get this in the mayor's message on social media. Amy Hoffman does a fabulous job doing a lot of work with, internal resources that most communities don't have. Whatever ways we can communicate better, certainly getting feedback from people just on how they would like to get their information would be helpful. And I think just reminding people that all of these things may have a certain amount of time in construction and development, and that their feedback to make sure that we mitigate any disruption or inconveniences during that time is really helpful as well. And that we're really eager to hear from people and get their feedback. And so anything you can do to help just reinforce the messages that, that we're trying to bring to people about what's going on, as well as getting their feedback of how we can do that better.
Thank you. Is there a year so it's 2024? Is there a year that you would say, generally speaking, we would target to say 90+% of these projects will be completed in a way that you can say, hey, this was what the downtown looked like, as an example, or kind of all the DRI projects looked like when we applied, and now most or all of them are done? Would you say that it's like 4 years from now, 8 years from now? Like, is there a point at which you would say, yeah, I feel good in saying that this is like a point at which most of these projects have been complete?
Some you're going to see relatively soon. The Route 9 road diet, the transportation hub, and the community center really should be wrapping up in 2026. By that time, you should see near completion the 30 Water Street project. You might see some construction going on for the Spring on Main project. By 2027, end of 2027, should see a dramatic change in Ossining. And, I'm cautiously optimistic. Delays are always just the nature of what we do. but cautiously optimistic that we're on time to meet those dates closely. Some things go into 2028, possible. But right now we're looking at those timetables and trying to stay on them as closely as possible. But I think by 2026, you'll start seeing real change, and 728, a radical transformation
Thank you.
in a good way.
I know that the schools are also undergoing a lot of capital projects, and so this is a half question, half comment to less because I know that you all as a staff are involved with the Board of Education, but more for the public to know that as you're educating yourself about what's happening in the village, also educate yourself about what's happening in the schools, because simultaneously there are a lot of projects in the schools. I want the half question is any comments that you would provide there with ways in which there are complements with what's happening in the school and here, or anything related to that.
Work pretty closely with the school administration. I meet with the superintendent pretty regularly, and we want to make sure that we're informing each other of what we're doing. I think that one of the projects that complements what the school is doing is the Route 9 road diet. That road diet will facilitate traffic going through onto Van Cortlandt. There'll be a dedicated turn lane, and that will be facilitating that traffic flow as they do their expansion in that area. And as we know, that's a really tight area. So we're looking to remediate the challenges that we have on Havel Street too. And that's to the benefit of the school district as well as the community as a whole. Generally speaking, I think that we're always conscious of particularly new development and residential development and the impact that has on the school district, but working through find our ability to be a bit more precise in developing pilot agreements or working with the school district on balancing the need for quality housing in Ossining, as well as the need for quality classroom size too, and recognizing that those objectives are shared goals, not competing goals.
Thank you very much.
Any? Okay, Dana, comments?
Sorry, I'm a little slow here. I'm working with my left hand and I am not left-handed. But it is a very impressive list of projects, and I was sorry I couldn't make the groundbreaking for the water treatment plant the other day. But once you actually start putting shovels in the ground and it starts becoming real, it gets very exciting. And I just want to say that as someone who's been part of the process now for a few years, always impressed continually by the efforts of our village staff and our trustees and our mayor to really get these things done. Excited to see how the placemaking committee can contribute to public art in these new places and in other ways. So thank you so much. And it's exciting times. Thanks.
Thank you, Dana. So ditto to everything. I don't want to be redundant here. So one of the things I would ask for, it's a great presentation, and I know it's for the public, but it's also for the board. And we've seen these over and over again. So possibly for the next time, like a progression chart. In other words, I'd like to see from, this is like a mid-year, next time to just see where we've advanced. And it's helpful to see, 2025, 2020, that's great. But actually just see, okay, since we last spoke about this, or in 2024, we're now got this done, and now the next step is X, Y, and Z. And I know it's sometimes hard. It felt like also, since the last time I saw this, that while you didn't put numbers on it, they're pretty much in the order of priority, I think. It felt like it. Like when I looked at it quickly, there's so much to look at. It actually looked like, the multimodal, the community center, multimodal, we can't get the multimodal done, a few of these projects, I don't know how we're gonna get them done, because without the parking adjacent to the project, it's hard. The e-bike, until we figure out the paths, it's nice to have e-bikes, but e-bikes without the venue for the e-bikes is gonna be challenging, and that was part of the original sort of promise. What are we gonna do if we can't figure out the paths? Like, we need e-bikes if you can't ride them except for a couple places. These are, which is why I said we're an incubator. We're going to test it out. So it'll be helpful to say, since last we met, we now have contracts. We now have another grant to help. We now finished a pool, and now we're going to go and do these next 4 things. So if anybody looks at it, I think it'll be helpful to now see progression rather than here's a description. There is no doubt in my mind that 98% of the people, unless they follow us on a regular basis and unless it's right in front of them, are going to in 2 years say, hey, what's happening? Why are we building this thing here? Nobody told me. I get that because people are living their lives and not everything affects everyone's life every minute of the day. So we'll get that and then we'll refer them on our website and stuff. And when Deputy Mayor was talking, so Jamie, this card that you brilliantly produced for the DRI stuff and the webinars. So I actually gave it to somebody the other day because I have them at home. And then they went with, they're at my house. So they're going out and they go, okay, this is old. This is stuff I already know. It's like the DRI stuff. But the idea of this is a communication, and I think it's in Spanish and English, is brilliant. I would just suggest maybe now that we're like, and I'm not saying tomorrow morning, maybe when we complete 2024 and actually some things will be completed, like finish the pool, maybe rethink like using this and update the website, which is like from 2020 or 21. I mean, I know why it's there because those are the original asks, but it would be great to use this again. And I don't give a lot of them out, but if we have a fair, if we have an event, I mean, I carry it around. I have like 10 of them in my bag just in case I quickly can give somebody the QR codes. I do think the signage at the places that are big and bold make it look like there's a lot of stuff going on with QR codes on them are going to be really helpful. I mean, then people, as they walk by, they'll sit there and go, hey, okay, now I see where it's going. Like it's actually going to be here. It's not just on a PowerPoint. So I think that's all like going to be really helpful to people. So I think all these things are great. You know, every time I see this, which is at the end of every quarter, my head is spinning and I'm actually on top of this stuff. So much going on. It's unbelievable. So I'm really appreciative of all of that. So I thank everybody for that. There are other projects that we're doing that are very operational, whether we're looking to put solar on police station and you know, there are different magnitudes of all these projects, but I think people recognize that. So very exciting stuff. Thanks everyone for doing that. And I think we're good to go. Unless there are any more questions, I think we're good. If anybody who's watching this has questions, the best way to really communicate isn't just by coming here. The easiest way is to just write to the BOT at villageofossining.org, and then we'll answer your emails. That's actually the most efficient way to ask us the questions that you might have.
Okay.
Sue?
All right, Corporation Counsel, Stuart Kahan.
Thank you, Sue. Karen, it was a wonderful presentation. Reminds me of the old joke that I feel like a pair of brown shoes at a tuxedo convention, but we will move on. One thing with regard to 30 Water Street, the public hearing with regard to the pilot is scheduled for August the 13th at 11 a.m. at the Boudars Theater at the Ossining Public Library. That is actually a public hearing that is not being conducted by the village. It's being conducted by Westchester County Industrial Development
right.
Agency. You, members of the public, are invited to attend either virtually or live, and it will be an opportunity to basically say anything you wish with regard specifically to the funding of the project that is there. If you go to the Westchester County site, I believe it's Westchester Catalyst, you will be able to get more information specifically about it. But again, the 13th of August, I believe it's again 11 a.m. at the Boudars Theater in the Ossining Public Library. Tonight, in addition to the many public hearings that we just finished, We are calling for public hearings on some additional local laws that have been discussed in work session. The only local law that is being called for public hearing tonight that was not discussed at work session deals with our video conferencing. That law actually ended on July 1st because that was the original end date of the local law and of the state law. But the governor's budget included an extension till June 30th of 2026. So what we're basically doing, or asking the board to do tonight, is call for public hearing to essentially put the law back on the books for another 2 years. Other municipalities did a lot simpler by simply repealing that part of it. Yours truly does not do it the simple way, so we'll. But otherwise, we have a few other resolutions with regard. I don't want to hold anyone else up, so that's it for tonight. Thanks.
Okay, Police Chief Aaron Zimmerman.
I know Karen's presentation had 24 slides. I'll keep this brief with 23.
Is that a challenge?
Yeah, I
Because I'm looking forward
I'll
to it.
also just keep this brief. Not not too many updates on the police end. We did hire a new police officer earlier in the week or earlier in last week. Eric Locker joins us from another agency. He's an experienced officer who has started his field training, and we're happy to have him. Also, our national night out, unfortunately, last night had to get canceled due to the inclement weather that came, and it was a pretty good call. We're looking to probably reschedule that for the first week in October. The exact date of that would be TBD. Keeping up with a little, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? We've had some things going on in town, some car larcenies and things like that. Just a general reminder to everybody out there, lock your doors, please. It's unfortunate when things get stolen and go missing, but we haven't had a stolen car in the village or town in the past 5 years where the keys weren't left in the ignition or in the car. So that is what it is. And then also too, some weather things we have going on. If trees come down, take out power lines, things get flooded, lights go out. Con Ed and everyone does their best to get those things back online. Please do your best to contact the power company directly. You actually get more traction than we do calling the power company, the phone company, or whatever utility is the one that will cure your ailment. But if it's non-life threatening and it's not an emergency, an inconvenience to your inconvenience to the power company is not their emergency. So please be patient and do the best we can. So on that note, everyone have a good night.
Thank you. Organizational announcements. Is there anyone here? It will be on the virtual world right now. Announcements should be event related only and no longer than 2 minutes in length. Is there anyone in the virtual world that would like to discuss an event? Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, public comment on agenda items. Visitors shall be accorded a 4-minute opportunity to address the board on any of the resolutions on the agenda. Is there anyone in the virtual world that would like to do that? Please raise your virtual hand. Ouch. No. Moving on, visitor recognition. Visitors are accorded a 3-minute opportunity to address the board on issues not relating to the agenda, but of relevance to the common good of the village. Is there anyone in our virtual world that would like to do that? Please raise your virtual hand.
I think, Ms. Udell, if you're still on. Oh,
Yeah.
she's not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry? Okay. Because this is the point where we discussed earlier, if somebody wants to just bring something forth to the attention of the board, time to do it. Okay.
Okay, moving on to village board resolutions. Approval of minutes, July 17th, 2024. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the minutes of the July 17th, 2024 regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any comments? Sue?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of minutes, July 29th, 2024, special. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the minutes of the July 29th. Approval of minutes, July 29th, 2024. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the minutes of the July 29th, 2024 special meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any comments?
All in favor?
If I may, before.
Oh,
that,
sorry,
Trustee
apologize.
Sada, were
Yeah,
you
no,
at
I was
that
gonna say-
meeting?
No, I was going to
Oh.
abstain myself.
You can't second or move and
Okay.
move.
All right, I'll
You're not-
second.
no.
Sue, I'll second.
Okay.
And Dana, we can't hear you, so if you're saying aye to everything, just say it into the mic.
Okay,
Ms.
We're-
Trustee White,
Were you at that meeting?
which
On
one?
The 29th, the special meeting where they,
Was.
for the new
Yeah.
officer?
yes,
Yeah,
I
it was-
wanna,
Okay, so we got 3.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain, yeah. Abstain. Okay. All right, approval of voucher detail report, August 7th, 2024. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated August 7th, 2024 in the amount of $1,337,061.09. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, resolution authorizing the permissive referendum and issuance of additional $40,024,228 in bonds for the Village of Ossining, Westchester County to pay for part of the cost of the construction of the Indian Brook Water Treatment Plant project and of said village. Whereas all conditions precedent for the financing of the capital project herewithin described, including compliance with provisions of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, have been performed, and whereas the Board of Trustees in the Village of Ossining on September 14th, 2021, duly adopted a bond resolution authorizing the issuance of $63,160,000 in bonds of said village to pay for the cost of the construction of the Indian Brook Water Treatment Plant in and for the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York. And whereas it has been determined that the maximum cost of the project will be $105,729,000 for, wait a minute,
$40.
$40, right, period. Sorry, I apologize. The comma got me. An increase of $24,228 over the previous authorized, and whereas it is now desired to authorize the expenditure of $2,544,812 in ARPA funds and the issuance of an additional $40,024,228 in bonds of said village for such specific purpose or purpose to pay for the portion of the cost thereas. Now therefore be it resolved by affirmative vote of no less than 2/3 of the total voting strength of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining, Westchester, New York, as follows. The object of or purpose of paying the additional cost for constructions of the Indian Brook Water Treatment Plant project, including improvements and costs incidental thereof, and thereby authorized to be issued an additional $40,024,228 in bonds for the Village of Ossining, Westchester County, New York, pursuant with the provisions of local finance law. It has therefore been determined that the maximum estimated cost of the project now determined to be $105,729,040, which specific object and purpose therefore authorizes as said maximum estimated cost and the plan of financing as follows. For expenditure of $2,544,812 ARPA funds and issuance of $63,160,000 in bonds for the said village authorized by the issuance of the bond resolution dated and duly adopted on September 14th, 2021, and the issuance of an additional $1,228 in bonds for said authorized to be issued and pursuant with the bond resolution provided. However, the amount of the bonds will be issued shall be reduced in the extent of grants received and in connection thereof. Hold on one second. Upon resolution taking effect, the summary thereof shall be published in the official newspaper together with a notice of the village clerk who in a substantial form provided in section 81.00 of the local finance law, and this resolution is adopted by permissive referendum. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments?
So roll call vote. Trustee White?
Aye.
Is he on?
Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Casada?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Lopez?
Aye.
Thank you. And Mayor Levin?
Aye. I actually think.
Is he on?
I actually think that Bob, did he end up in the right Zoom, the wrong, where is he? We don't need the vote.
No. It's fine.
Okay. All right, Bob, if you're listening,
Thank you.
we have the 4 votes and we're gonna move on, but thank you anyway. Sorry about the confusion.
And thank you all. Okay. Referral of proposed zoning text amendments to the planning boards. Whereas the Board of Trustees is considering an amendment of Chapter 270 zoning to add a new Article 18 entitled Electric Vehicle Charging Stations. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant with the Section 270-59 for the Village of Austin Code, the Board of Trustees refers to the proposed zoning text amendment to the Planning Board, and be it further resolved that the Planning Board shall issue its report on the proposed text amendments to the zoning code within 62 days of this referral. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Call for a public hearing on proposed law 2024 entitled A Local Law Repealing 162. Oh, that's all I have to read? Thank you. It's better. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby calls for a public hearing to take place at 7:30 PM on August 21st, 2024 at the Municipal Building, 16 Croton Avenue, first floor boardroom, Austin, New York, to consider the proposed law 2024. And be it further resolved that the proposed local law repeals certain articles in the current chapter, making sure I didn't turn 2 pages, and adopts the revised chapter 162, and be it further resolved that members of the public are invited to attend the public hearing in person at the above reference location. Be it further resolved that the members of the public who requiring reasonable accommodations to participate in the public hearing due to a person's disability shall notify the Corporation Council no later than 7 days before the public hearing at kahan@villageofaustin.org to afford the village significant time to provide reasonable accommodation, and be it further resolved that the members of the public who want to attend and participate in the public hearing remotely, access will be available via the Zoom platform, and be it further resolved that comments regarding the proposed law will be accepted by the Board of Trustees at bot@villageofaustin.org. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any questions?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, call for a public hearing, proposed law 2024. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austin hereby calls for a public hearing to take place at 7:30 PM on August 21st, 2024 in the Municipal Building, 16 Croton Avenue, first floor boardroom, Austin, New York. And be it further resolved that the proposed local law amending the aforementioned chapters be included in the uniform process of the assessment and collection of costs incurred by the village. And be it further resolved that the members of the public are invited to attend the public hearing in person at the above referenced location. And be it further resolved that these members of the public requiring a reasonable accommodation to participate in the public hearing due to a person's disability shall notify the Corporation Council no later than 7 days before the public hearing at kahan@villageofboston.org to afford the village significant time to provide a reasonable accommodation, and be it further resolved that members of the public who want to attend and participate in the public hearing remotely, access will be available via the Zoom platform, and be it further resolved that comments regarding the proposed law will be accepted by the Board of Trustees at BOT@villageofboston.org. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any comments?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, call for a public hearing, proposed law 2024. Papers are so thick. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby calls for a public hearing to take place at 7:30 PM on August 22nd, 2024, in the municipal building at 16 Croton Avenue, first floor boardroom, Ossining, New York, to consider the proposed law 2024 entitled "A Local Law Amending Chapter 57 Video Conferencing by Public Bodies," and be it further resolved that the proposed local law amends the aforementioned chapter and to extend the local's expiration date from July 1st, 2024 to July 1st, 2026, and be further resolved that members of the public are invited to attend the public hearing in person at the above referenced location, and be it further resolved that members of the public requiring a reasonable accommodation to participate in a public hearing due to the person's disability shall notify Corporation Council no later than 7 days before the public hearing at kahan@villageofboston.org to afford the village significant time to provide reasonable accommodations, and be it further resolved that members of the public who want to attend and participate in the public hearing remotely shall be available by Zoom platform, and be it further resolved that comments regarding the proposed local law will be accepted by the Board of Trustees at BOT@villageofboston.org. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any comments?
All in favor?
Aye.
License agreement, 61 Hunter Street. Resolved that following the review of Corporation Council, the village manager is authorized to sign a license agreement with Sergio Lima, the property located at 61 Hunter Street. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, memorandum of agreement with CSEA. Resolved that the village, apologize. Resolved that the Village Board of Trustees ratifies and approves the memorandum of understanding, the MOA, and hereby authorizes the village manager to execute the memorandum of agreement with the CSEA Local 1000 AFSCME AFL-CIO. Village of Ossining Unit 9613. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any comments? Just thanks to our lawyers, our union members, staff, everyone involved in the negotiation, and hope to close this agreement as soon as possible.
Okay.
Nicely done by everyone involved.
All in
Lou?
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Authorization to sign stipulation of agreement, clothing allowance with the Police Benevolent Association, PBA. Resolved that the Village Board of Trustee hereby authorizes the village manager to sign the stipulation of agreement regarding Article 12, clothing allowance dated July 2024 with the Village of Ossining Police Benevolent Association, PBA. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any comments on this? Sue?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adoption of Village of Ossining Government Operation Action, Climate Action Plan, GoCap. May I call it GoCap? Yes. Thank you. It's one I can read. Whereas the Village of Ossining pledged to take part in the New York State DEC Climate Smart Communities Certification Program with pledges including reduced greenhouse gas emissions, and whereas the Government Operations Climate Action Plan sets concrete emission reduction goals for the Village of Ossining and identifies the priority actions to achieve these goals, and whereas the task force presented a draft Government Operation Climate Action Plan to the Village of Ossining to the Village Board of Trustees and the public on July 10th, 2024 Village Board Work Session. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Ossining Board of Trustee hereby adopts the Government Operation Climate Action Plan And be it further resolved that the municipal board authorizes the submission of these documents to the New York State DEC Office of Climate Change for consideration of points towards the Climate Smart Community Certification for the Village of Ossining. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any comments?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, is there any continuing business of the board? Is there any new business of the board? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Ladies and gentlemen, have to
It's
vote,
only
I
9
think,
o'clock.
then I talk. Sue?
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry. I mean,
Ladies and
I-
gentlemen, it is now 9:06 or 9:07. This concludes our meeting for the evening. Thank you all. It was a long agenda. We got through it rather nicely and quickly. We will see everyone at our next meeting on Wednesday, next Wednesday. Thank you.